Good evening and welcome to the 2022 NCAA Division II Women's Basketball Selection Show. I'm Will Haskett. 64 teams are about to find out if and how their journey begins in pursuit of a national championship. And with a full bracket again this year, we return to 8-team regionals. The entire field of 64 made up of 23 automatic qualifiers and 41 at-large selections. Those regionals tip off this coming Friday. The Elite Eight begins on March the 21st in Birmingham, Alabama at the Crossplex there, and we will have our champion just 4 days after that. And here to help me get through this bracket and prepare us for the action coming up this week is Wayne Cavati of NCAA.com. Wayne, 64 teams back in these brackets. That means 8-team regionals, so more opportunities for more teams to perhaps be national champions, and a very exciting season leading up to this unveil.
Yeah, and we've seen it the past weekend alone, right? In the conference tournaments, you've seen some of these lower seeds playing their way in, completely mixing up the regions a little bit here and there, just to have that opportunity that you talked about. And you know, back to that 64-team field, it is March. And we've already seen the unexpected happen, and I'm hoping to see a lot more of it. Yeah,
we're going to unveil a few of those crazy surprises coming up. I'm curious your take on the overall sort of state of the game, the dynamics of the competition this year. Last year was kind of just feeling things out, just trying to get games to happen so we could crown a champion. This year, quote unquote, a bit more normalized, a full bracket again, and it really feels as if competition across the entire sport has been wildly exciting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, you know, people look at the short season last year, and we were excited to have that tournament. And like you said, but one of the things I think a lot of people forget is there was also a lot less preparation time. So by the time these teams got to that tournament last year, they were some of them were gassed. Yep. Some of them weren't ready for tournament play. Whereas this year, like you said, we're back to normal, whatever that looks like these days, but that's what we're back to, right? So you had the full off-season preparation. You had your full November slate of games to kind of feel out where the new team looks and the new players fit in. And I think that the teams that are rolling with momentum now is that traditional, you know, the dangerous momentum that you see this time of year. So it's really exciting to be back to this, the normal layout of the tournament.
Anybody's tournament, that is for sure. Okay, we'll have Wayne's thoughts on all 8 of the regions, but let's unveil the first one right now, shall we? We begin in the Atlantic, where the top overall seed and hosting duties belongs to Glenville State, 14th appearance for one of the best teams in the country this year in a number of areas. The top scoring team in the country at 98 per. They entered the weekend making more threes per game than any team while sporting a top 5 shooting percentage. It starts with ball hawking defense as well, forcing over 27 turnovers per game. That is tops in the country. They open with Lincoln of Pennsylvania. The CIAA champions are in the tournament for the first time. They won in emotional fashion over the championship there for fallen teammate Deasia Young. A very emotional win gets Lincoln into the tournament for the first time. Gannon earns the 4 seed. It's been 7 years since the last tournament appearance, but 3 straight wins in the PSAC tournament earn the AQ and a trip back to face 5-seeded Shepherd. No player in the country has as many assists and has played as many minutes this year as Abby Beeman has for Shepherd. 2 seed belonging to Cal U. Deja Terrell led the PSAC in scoring this year and looks to push this team to a 3rd national championship in school history. The road begins against another state-named team in the state of Pennsylvania. That would be Indiana of Pennsylvania, the top shooting team in the PSAC, earning the final at-large in this region. 3 seed belonging to Kutztown. What a potential showdown in this region. The top scoring team in the country, number 1, and now the top shooting percentage defense with this squad. It's also an incredible journey back to the tournament. First time since 1996 for Kutztown, which was the lone appearance in program history. And Charleston slides into the 6th spot, 10th tournament appearance for a team shooting almost 38% from deep. That is top 10 in the country. All right, Wayne, you get the top offense in all of the sport there on the number 1 line, but a lot of different styles in the Atlantic.
And right off the back in our first region, we're seeing what happens when March happens, right? Charleston goes in undefeated Glenville State. They were 29-0, and Charleston wasn't even in the regional rankings right before this. And they earned the automatic bid by winning it. So we know that the region was going to be, minorly tweaked before we even went into it. But, you know, kudos to Charleston, great game. But you can't, it's like you said, you can't take anything away from Glenville State. And it's really important to point out the one thing that you did, it's not just offense. It's right there, their defense, it just wears people down and it tires people out and it's nonstop. And They're just such a well-rounded team that uses the whole floor in every aspect of the game. And when you're speaking about defense, even though, Cal lost, that defense is for real. It's the third best in D2. And it's like you said, there's so many different styles in this region that it's hard to see how it plays out. But you got to think that Glenville State, with the balance they have on both sides, has to be they're well deserving of that number 1 seed. And one quick note, the Kutztown story is a good one. And that's when the magic happens in March.
Yeah. No doubt about it. We'll move on now to the Central region as we slide away from the Atlantic. Hosting duties in the top overall seed here, belonging to Fort Hays State. That is 4 in a row now and 6 of the last 7 tournaments, when not counting that canceled 2020 bracket. Entering the weekend second in the country in assist to turnover ratio. It's Jaden Hobbs' leadership that drives this team in pursuit of a national title. It starts against 8-seeded Minnesota State, the 2009 national champions, back for the first time since 2015. Missouri Southern State, your 4 seed. Scattering report is full of everybody with the last name of Stokes. Lacey's a freshman. She leads in scoring and topped the conference in steals and assists, while Maddie, a sophomore, leads the team in rebounds and topped the conference in blocks. St. Cloud State will have that scouting report. The Huskies, the 5 seed in this one, snapping a streak of over a decade without a tournament appearance last year and returning looking for a win and then a few more. But they enter off of a tough loss to Minnesota Duluth in the Northern Sun Championship game. But they did have the best scoring defense in the country. What do they say? Defense wins championships. 2 seed belongs to Southwestern Oklahoma. The Bulldogs shot their way to a GAC title, making 16 of 24 threes today in a convincing 89-68 win. That pushed them above 300 made triples on the season, more than any school in the country. All 5 starters shot better than 50% from distance in that championship game. They start with 7-seeded Missouri Western back at the tournament for the first time since 2016. 3 seed is Minnesota Duluth, the Northern Sun champions. They held St. Cloud State to under 40 in the championship game. Talk about some postseason defense on display. They go back-to-back as tournament champions. Brooke Olson outscored her opponent as a team in the first quarter. She ended up with 21 points in the game for the 6'2 star. She will face off against 6-seeded Nebraska Kearney, which makes its 14th tournament appearance here in 2022. Wayne, we talked about a number of those championship game performances from some teams on this list right here. Always a really, really difficult and defensive-minded region to get out of.
It's a great region, like you said. And, Southwestern Oklahoma State, they're clicking. They're running on all cylinders right now, and we know they have that tournament experience. Here's a team that has, 4 losses on the season, and 2 of them came on opening weekend, the top 25 teams. So that makes them 28-2 down the stretch and closing the season out winners of 14 in a row. You take away all the numbers you throw in, just the experience to be at this point at this time of year is a dangerous thing for them. But like you said, Fort Hays State, they've been incredible all year. Katie Wagner is so good offensively and on the glass. But you mentioned one name, and there's 4 or 5 big names on this team that it's hard to plan the game plan against them, and it's even harder to pull away from offensively. And the team they beat, Missouri Southern, what a season they had. You mentioned both of the Stokes, right? Lacey Stokes, as a freshman, just helped vault this program up to the top. They rode a 17-game winning streak into the MIAA finals. It's been remarkable to watch them, that a 9-win team last year, and where they are right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We're going to slide to the East. Just 2 brackets into this 8-region field. We go to the East. Top seed here belonging to the story of the NE10 this season. That would be Southern New Hampshire, who will get to host here in this NCAA postseason. They led the conference in scoring, returned to the tournament for the first time since 1990. They won 9 of 10 before a quick exit in the conference tournament. The body of work, though, however, too good to deny them the top spot here in the East. They lead off against 8-seeded Damon, earning a trip last year for the first time ever, was 1 win away from a regional championship. They're back in again after winning the East Coast Conference. 4th seed is Jefferson, top shooting team in the CACC this season for Jefferson. an opportunity for them to work into this NCAA postseason, build off of a great season, and perhaps make a deep run in a region that many might consider to be wide open, depending on the path. They start with 5th-seeded Bentley, the NE10 champions, riding momentum. They earn the automatic qualifier while boasting the conference's best scoring defense. Also shot it better than any team in the conference as well from the floor. That is a lethal combination, and you already look at it. Conference champion, those type of numbers, and a 5 seed here in the East. 2 seed belongs to Chestnut Hill. History continuing to be made this year by the Griffins. No team in school history has won this many games. First team to win a postseason CACC game in program history, and now NCAA tournament bound for the first time as well. They begin with 7th-seeded Pace, last at large after a quarterfinal loss in the Northeast 10 tournament. First appearance in a decade for this program. And the 3 seed, that belongs to the University of the Sciences. We mentioned a lot of these teams that were in that CACC championship tournament. These were your champions. Got a 12 apiece from Jess Huber and Isla Brennan to earn the automatic qualifier, 6th tournament appearance. And what a conference tournament was to be the last team standing when it was all said and done. And they will open up against the 6th seed from Lemoyne, an at-large and the 3rd ever tournament appearance for this program. Wayne, your thoughts on the East?
I mean, you nailed it. This is wide open, right? You look at the NE10, for example, and Southern New Hampshire and Lemoyne were the top 2 seeds, and neither made the semifinals. You know, you look at a team like Damon, who, you know, they look like they could, even at that 8 seed, they look like they could be a real team to beat in this East. They have the experience. They had 4 or 5 losses this season, but the bulk of them came before the calendar flipped to 2022. So this is a team that's really playing with a lot of momentum right now. And Katie Titus is just, what a court leader. You know, you can't ask for more than that. She averages more than 20 points and 7 rebounds a game. But, you know, the Bentley matchup, that's a wild one. Chestnut Hill, I mean, there's just so many, from a spectator's point of view, there's a lot of fun matchups here because you have no history on how to kind of base what happens next. And I think that's going to bring a lot of fun to this part of the bracket.
Yeah, no doubt. We won't know until we tip it off. We can prognosticate all we want, but there's really no telling. All right, one more to go before we take a break on this half of the bracket. We go to the Midwest, where the top seed there belongs to Ashland, the Eagles. Perhaps overdue for another title to go along with championships in 2013 and 2017, a program that makes the most of its trip to the tournament. They've racked up 28 victories in the previous 10 trips, twice finishing as national runner-up as well. This season, they led the GMAC in scoring and turnover margin while ranking 2nd in the country in field goal percentage entering this past weekend. They lead off against Ferris State, getting the automatic qualifier as winners of the GLIAC. 4th seed is Walsh, 3rd appearance in the tournament for the top shooting team in the country. Nearly 49% from the floor this year. You talk about offensive efficiency, this team has it. It was a battle all season long with conference foe Ashland for the country's top field goal percentage, so you have 2 of the best shooting teams in the entire nation on one half of one part of this regional bracket. What a potential showdown that could be if it happens in the second round. But there's a team that wants to get in the way of those potential shooting plans. That would be Southern Indiana, the 5 seed, 11th appearance for the Screaming Eagles, and their first appearance since 2012. 2 seed belonging to Grand Valley State, the 2006 national champions, back and ready to win title number 2. They feature the country's best defense. Entering the weekend, the Lakers had the top scoring defense in the country, allowing under 50 per game. Opponents are shooting just over 33% from the field against them as well. That's also top 3 in the nation. So if defense wins championships, is this perhaps your front runner? Well, no, the top half of the brackets got the best shooting teams. I'm telling you, every bracket delivers. They will face 7-seeded Wayne State in the opening round. 11-year head coach Carrie Lohr has won more games than any coach in program history. She also has 4 senior leaders to guide this team in the tournament this year. Sam Cherney, one of them, most rebounds and points in school history. Drury, your 3 seed here in the Midwest, the GLVC automatic qualifier. They were a perfect 16-0 at home this year. They've won 7 straight entering this tournament. And Missouri St. Louis, the 6 seed. 3rd NCAA appearance, rematch of the GLVC semifinals that Drury won 64-54 just a couple days ago. Wayne, we mentioned the offense, the defense, the battles that could be on the horizon here in the Midwest region.
You know, year in and year out, you see pretty much the same thing, right? You have 3 top 10 teams in this region in D2. They may even be top 5 by the next rankings, and they all 3 come at you in different ways. Grand Valley State has that defense that you talked about. Drury has this incredible offense led by the reigning D2 player of the year in Paige Robinson. And then Ashland just has this incredible balance of experienced players and talent that some have been there before. Some have been in those experienced undefeated runs and championship runs are back for one more run. But there's no way to predict which one of those 3 teams is going to come out of it because, like you said, the whole part of the bracket is insane. You got a Ferris State that just beat Grand Valley State, right? You have Walsh that could shoot the lights out, and then Southern Indiana and even Umsel, they're all tough enough to be, 1, 2, or 3 seeds in any other region with the resumes they have built up. This is obviously one of the most fun parts of the bracket to watch because the talent is it's incredible, and it's so balanced in the competition that you're going to see.
All we've established is that we know nothing except for the actual teams that are in the bracket. 32 of them have been unveiled, 32 more to go right after this.
There's an energy swelling out beyond the limits of your expectations. A universe where fandom reigns supreme. Once you're in it, it changes you. Instead of one of one, you're one of many. A blissful sea of chaos. Go beyond your limits and enter the NCAA universe. Get your seats today at ncaa.com/tickets.
Half of the 2022 NCAA Division II women's basketball bracket has been unveiled. We go to the right side now. We begin with the South region, the top seed there. Belonging to Union out of Tennessee, the Bulldogs made the national semifinals back in 2018, would love a return trip in their 6th tournament appearance. They feature the Gulf South's best offense. They can shoot the ball almost better than anybody in the country. In fact, entering this past weekend, they were the only school in the country making 40% of their three-pointers. Emily Beard and Bethany Dillard are the sharpshooters behind the line, each ranking in the top 10 in the country in three-point percentage. You cannot leave shooters on this team open. They open against 8-seeded Savannah State, 2nd NCAA appearance and the 1st since back in 1995. 4-seed belonging to Florida Southern, 15th NCAA tournament appearance. The Mocs lost to Tampa in overtime of the Sunshine State Conference Championship game. No doubt that will fuel a little bit of the fire coming into this NCAA tournament. They face 5-seeded Eckerd, 2nd in Division II in field goal percentage defense this year. Number 2 seed here in the South is Tampa. We mentioned the Spartans and that great performance in the Sunshine State Conference Championship game. They missed out a season ago, but returned in emphatic fashion. The top shooting team in the Sunshine State Conference has 4 double-figure scorers who all excel inside the arc. This team built around its tenacity and attention to detail down low. They also led the conference this year in rebounding. They will guard the glass against the 7 seed in this region. That belongs to Valdosta State. They lost in the Gulf South Conference tournament semis to Lee, who is next, number 3 seed in this region, for a top 25 field goal percentage in the country this year, shooting it at 45%. And Benedict rounds out the 8 in this region. 44.8 rebounds per game this year, is 7th in D2. Wayne, your thoughts on the South?
I mean, we have to start by talking about Union. On November 24th, Union was 3-2 after falling to Drury, and that was the 4th straight nationally ranked team the Bulldogs faced, and they haven't lost since, right?
Yep.
You want to talk about a team learning from their early season test. They plowed through the Gulf South Conference behind a strong defense, and they have 3 really, really capable scorers. It's fun to watch them play. You mentioned Tampa and Eckerd. Those 2 teams, in my opinion, in the Sunshine State Conference, they've just battled it out all year, and they kind of have different styles. Like you said, Eckerd has this really great defense, and Tampa's just tough, and they wear you down inside, and that's how they beat you, But a team I'm watching, I've always liked them, is Benedict, and they really flipped this part of the region a little bit by winning the SIAC. And, they have every year, Ayanna Bay is just such a great player of the year candidate, in my opinion. And they tested themselves early, and it came out to mixed results. But at the end, kind of like we said with Union, those tests, it mattered at the end. And now we see them playing some of the best basketball they played all season.
All right, 3 to go. We now transition to the Southeast region. Top seed here belonging to North Georgia. The Nighthawks will host and doing so many things really well. A big reason why this program continues to hear its name called each and every year. The best defense in the Peach Belt this season, also controls the defensive glass better than almost any team in the country. North Georgia shooting it well and often from deep. 2 15-point scorers in Julianne Sutton and Caroline Martin handle much of the load, but they have great balance in a starting five, all averaging nearly 9 points a game or more this year. They lead off against 8-seeded Columbus State, which earns an at-large bid. They lost in the Peach Belt semis to North Georgia, so here we go again, round 2 in the postseason, sneaking in, and when you give a team another crack at it, you never know what might happen in the first round of the tournament. 4th seed belongs to Wingate, 3rd in the country in three-point percentage this year, nearly 40% from deep, 19th NCAA appearance for the Bulldogs, to face Carson Newman, the 5 seed, for the 3rd time in program history. This program, the South Atlantic Conference Tournament champions, winning by a record-setting 25 points over 4th seeded Anderson in that final. 2 seed here in the Southeast belongs to Lander, top scoring offense in the Peach Belt, back for another deep run. Coming off a national semifinal loss a season ago, do the Bearcats have the firepower to go even further this year? Zamaya Passmore was all-tournament last year, but went down in mid-January with a season-ending injury, and in her absence, it's been Michaela Kanje who stepped up even more. She's averaging nearly 20 per game while ranking 2nd in the nation in shooting percentage. She'll start up against number 7-seeded Catawba, 2nd straight tournament appearance for this team. The Indians leading the South Atlantic Conference in fewest turnovers per game. 3 seed going to Georgia Southwestern, first ever NCAA tournament appearance. We say welcome to the Lady Canes, who start with 6-seeded Barton, making their 4th straight NCAA tournament. Wayne?
I mean, this is like the East. This is a wild region that's wide open. If you look at, North Georgia, Lander, Clayton State, Georgia Southwestern, these are all teams that swapped wins against each other during the regular season. We know they're capable of beating each other. And like you said, when you get that extra chance in the playoffs, there's a little grudge, and there's going to be a lot of tough basketball being played. Then you have Francis Marion, who was the 7 seed in their own tournament, and they took down number 1 Barton in Conference Carolinas. So you're looking for teams that are streaking and doing it at the right time. And it's really hard to tell. You mentioned Lander, Zamaya Passmore, just losing her for this year, but they stayed the course, and it's been really impressive. And it's going to be interesting to see what they could do in the tournament if she can't get healthy, because North Georgia is, you put in the experience, you put in those 2 talented players that you mentioned earlier, and they're probably the most balanced team that we're looking at here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there in that region. We've got 2 to go to unveil. We slide down now to the South Central, where the top seed belonging to West Texas A&M. They were the 1 seed of the Lone Star Conference Tournament, beat Texas A&M Commerce 67-66 earlier this afternoon to get the league's automatic bid, hold on to perhaps what was always their number 1 seed. 26th NCAA tournament appearance for the program. They will lead off against Colorado Mesa, the 8 seed. Mavericks only giving up 12.2 turnovers per game. They take care of the basketball. That was best in the RMAC this season. 4 seed is Texas Women's, the 3rd NCAA tournament appearance for the Pioneers. You have to go back to 2016, the last time this program heard its name called here on the selection show. So a new group of players rebuilding this program back to a tournament contender and getting the 4 seed here in the South Central region as part of that triumph. And they start against 5-seeded MSU Denver, the automatic qualifier out of the RMAC. They beat CSU Pueblo in the championship game by a score of 76-68. I mentioned Texas A&M Commerce just a bit ago in that great Lone Star battle. They get the 2 seed in this region behind the Lone Star Conference Player of the Year and Diane Robinson. The Lions returning the tournament for the 4th time. She became the first player of the year for the program in 13 seasons, averaging nearly 16 per game. She's also one of 12 players to average over 2 rebounds a game for a team that entered the weekend top 3 in the country in rebounding margin. There's a lot of players that crashed the glass on this team. A January win over Lubbock Christian, the signature win of the regular season, so this team knows that they have championship potential here in the NCAA postseason. They start against number 7-seeded Colorado School of Mines. How good is this region when you're looking at the 7 seed here? The Ore Diggers led the RMAC in scoring offense and scoring defense this year and still have to sneak into the field as the 7 seed here in that just loaded South Central region, but they lead off against Texas A&M Commerce. It will be a great first-round battle, 2 versus 7 here in the South Central. All right, I mentioned how good this region is. Look at the 3 seed. It belongs to Lubbock Christian, the 2-time defending national champions. They would love a three-peat here in 2022. The defense certainly the championship worthy again this year. They enter the weekend top 5 in the country in scoring defense, allowing just over 54 per game. And they lead off against CSU Pueblo. The 6-seed Thunderwolves posted a school record 20-win improvement from last year. Yes, they won just 3 games a season ago. They make it all the way to the RMAC championship game and earn an at-large selection for one of the best turnarounds, not just this year, but in the history of Division II women's basketball, Wayne.
Yeah, and you know, look, Lubbock Christian, you could say they're the underdog. That's how insane this part of the bracket is with the depth they have. And you're talking about the 2-time defending champs. But, you know, that West Texas A&M game, Texas A&M Commerce game to close out the Lone Star Conference. Wow, what a game. You know, free throws pretty much at the buzzer, 4 seconds left on the clock. And here's West Texas A&M, and they got it together at the right time, right? You know, 6 of the team's losses came before November 21st, and they lost their best player in Lexi Hightower, one of the best players in program history. They have a new head coach, but since January, they look unstoppable, and they're right back here, you know, like you said, not missing a beat, 28th time in the tournament. 2 of the teams, you know, Pueblo and MSU Denver, that was a great RMAC championship game. 2 teams, you know, you talked about that turnaround by Colorado State Pueblo. It's unbelievable. You can't even write a movie with script like that. But MSU Denver, you know, the Roadrunners went to the RMAC tourney having lost 3 of their last 5 regular season games and beat Westminster, Colorado Mesa, and Pueblo, 3 teams ranked ahead of them in the regional rankings to take care of business. When you have that kind of momentum, even in this stacked region, you're just as dangerous as the 1 seed.
Yeah, everything's still very much up in the air. We haven't had a region yet that you can really pinpoint. No, there's only 1 to go. I don't think we're going to solve any problems with this unveiling either, because there are 8 great teams, beginning with top overall seed in the West. That belongs to Cal State East Bay. The Pioneers winning the CCAA championship 80-66 over Cal State San Marcos on Saturday. 2nd tournament championship for head coach Chanelli Stiers, who also led the Pioneers to a title in 2017. They open against the 8 seed Academy of Art, getting the 8 seed and the Pioneers in round number 1. Mentioned the aforementioned Cal State San Marcos. They're the 4 seed, and a date with 5th seeded Azusa Pacific, with the winner perhaps facing the top seed in the 2nd round. 2 seed, we say hello to Central Washington. What a run for the Wildcats this year, topping 20 wins in a season for the first time in 2 decades. It also provides the first tournament berth since 2003, led by Conference Player of the Year Cassidy Malcolm. This was the top scoring team in the GNAC, also making more threes than any other conference foe. Malcolm wasn't even her team's top scorer, with Kiza Maltezo giving the Wildcats 2 capable scorers, averaging over 18 per game this season. They'll face off against 7-seeded Northwest Nazarene, entering the postseason with a record of 18-9. And the last 2 teams to unveil, we begin with number 3-seeded Western Washington, 17th appearance for this school, but the first since 2017. The Vikings have labored a bit down the stretch, losing multiple games in overtime, but still did more than enough in the regular season to be the top seed in the GNAC tournament, and now try and find a little bit of form heading into the NCAA postseason. And the last team to unveil is an at-large. Take a deep breath as Alaska Anchorage makes the field, and we welcome you to the tournament. Wayne, first your thoughts here on the West region before we wrap it all up.
You know, I've always called it the Wild West, and it looks like it's going to be that again. You know, Cal State East Bay pulled off the CAA championship, you know, and they closed the season on a 7-game winning streak. But the Cal State San Marcos team that they beat, you know, the Cougars didn't lose a game in January, February until falling to Cal State East Bay in the championship game. So, you know, you got 2 really good teams from the same conference there. You got Azusa Pacific, who entered the season in the top 10 and looks very much the part once again, you know, and they have maybe one of the deepest starting 5s in all of the bracket from top to bottom. But Central Washington, you know, you talked about the 2 players, but then you got Samantha Bowman, who she's a game-changing presence, right? So many teams in today's women's basketball at the D2 level, they go, you know, they go small, and sometimes they have 4 guards, sometimes they even have 5. You know, but Bowman is this big presence inside, a true center that not a lot of teams have. She had 23 rebounds in the GNAC championship game, and it was her 5th 20-rebound game of the season. That's a huge advantage this time of year, both offensively and defensively, and I think they're a team to watch in this region.
Wayne, when you just kind of think back now with all 64 teams sort of unveiled, we said at the beginning how good competition was this season with a full season of preparation. But I think what it's proven to us is we have no clue what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun, right? You don't want to be able to say Lubbock Christian's going to win again, right? You want them to be the underdog. And I think what we're seeing over the last 5-6 years really is just this. The playing field is becoming level. There's a lot more talent at the D2 women's basketball level, and we're seeing it in this bracket that there's no clear winner in any part of the region, and some of them you can't even make a guess.
We've seen teams with high-flying offenses. We've seen great defenses go there. Is there anything that you really look forward to? Is it how well you're playing right now, or can a team surprise?
I think a team can surprise, but I think, with the way teams are built right now, there's a lot of teams with a lot of a senior presence and graduate student presence that have been here and done that before. And I think ultimately, even though there's a lot of exciting stories, I think ultimately that experience, it doesn't matter how good your offense is or how tight your defense is. It's going to be how you handle the pressure at the end of the game. And those teams with the experience of being here before, can there be Cinderellas? Can there be surprises? Absolutely. We watch it every year. But I think the experience this year is going to play a big role possibly more than ever.
All right, our job here is done, Wayne. All we can do is sit back and watch the games and enjoy it just like everybody else at home. Thanks so much for your time, and enjoy all those games coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Thanks. I can't wait to get started.
64 teams still alive, competing for a shot at a national championship. Those 8 regional sites tip off this coming weekend with the regional finals on Tuesday, March the 14th. The committee will reseed those teams prior to the Division II Elite 8 tipping off from the Birmingham, Alabama, on March the 21st. You can watch those games right here at NCAA.com. The semifinals on March the 23rd, the championship game on March 25th, both on CBS Sports Network. Make sure you keep up with all the scores and news from the tournament right here on NCAA.com. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For Wayne Cavati, I'm Will Haskett. Enjoy the games, and congratulations to all the student athletes competing in this year's championship.